Hey, welcome back. I have taken the cowl off the front like I promised I would, and I've also pulled the gasoline tank out of it. And for the most part, the gasoline tank was in good shape. I mean, despite being in there for 20 years, the pickup tube that's inside the tank was in good shape, which that's one of those things you really want to check on because if it has any air holes or any pinholes in it, what'll happen is as the tank starts to empty, any pinholes or anything are going to suck air into the fuel line that's going to the carburetor, and pretty soon the prop will stop spinning. It's just one of those kind of chain reaction kind of deals. So, yeah, didn't seem any problems with that. It's all taken care of. Put it all back together again. There was some residue in the bottom of the tank, which is because there might have been a little bit of fuel that was left over from the last flight 20 years ago, and it separated the two-cycle fuel out, and that's what the goo in the bottom was. So I washed out the tank with some fresh gasoline and got it all set. Put it back together again, stuck it back under the hood, but now we got the cowl off, and that created some different problems. Take a look. I'll show you what happened. Hey, welcome back to the shop. It's really good to see you here again. Yeah, it's funny. I called Mark and talked to him about this. He's like, "Nah, just leave it the way it is. It should be fine." You know what? He was right. Okay, so that's what we got. Actually, the hose looks really good. It looks like it is held up to. It's not been in fuel. It is kind of greasy because there's some old two-cycle grease in there. So what I think I'm going to do, I think this is okay. I don't see any real problems with this. Air bubbles is our main concern. But all the parts are still here. I think what I'm going to do is just do a quick inspection here. Wipe down the hose and make sure there's no cracks or anything, which it looks really good. This is always the tough part, finding the right kind of hose to put inside of a fuel tank using gasoline. A lot of guys will use Tyvek here, which is that yellow clear kind of stuff. And the problem I found with that is after Tyvek has been submersed in gasoline for a long time, the ends kind of swell up and it just kind of falls off the tubes. That was not going to be a problem here. This is a different type of fuel line, probably more designed for, probably like chainsaw fuel line use. You can get this at a hardware store. But anyways, regardless, if you're using Tyvek in there, you've got to find some way to tie them to the clunk and to the inlet bar. I started using this stuff so I wouldn't have to do that because that stuff just kind of turns into a noodle for some reason when it's exposed to two-cycle gasoline, especially when it's submerged like it's going to be inside of a tank. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some solvent here and just kind of wash this out because you can see all that stuff. That's the two-cycle oil that it must have been put away a little bit, and maybe I couldn't get all of the draw out of the back of the tank. And so what happens is all this oil is after the gasoline evaporated off of it for many years being back there, the oil doesn't really evaporate. It just kind of lays around. And I'll go ahead and clean all that out, and we'll put it back together and put it back in the plane. And then it's time to take the cowl off there and see what's going on with the engine. And as if by magic, everything's back together again. It looks great. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the tank. Yeah, got to remember, this side is going up right now because the plane is upside down. Which one of those tubes was the one I pulled it off of? Was it the vent tube or was it the pull tube? Oh well, I'll figure it out. Yeah. And so here we are on the front end of the Spacewalker, and everything looks pretty normal in here. But when I first opened up the cowl, this looked like this. You see what this is right here? This piece right here is a fueler valve that came from Sullivan, and it was something I really liked back in the day. This was both acceptable to glow and gasoline engines, and that was good because you got to make sure you get your parts right when you're dealing with the different fuels. But it's really cool because all I would have to do is just take a 1/8 inch tube, like right through the top here, and push down into it, and it would automatically fill up the tank. The valve, you can't really see it because this is, let's get this out of the way. I'll show you what. Oh, and that fell out too. Great. That must have been the trap door. Okay, anyways, the way it would work is back here, you can see there's a black tube that runs down, and this goes to the gas tank. Now, what would happen is I'd put that tube in the top here, and it would just automatically hook to that second tube back there and fill up the gas tank without pushing any more to the carburetor. It's an awesome device, actually. The way that this would work is you see this little bowl that just fell out of the front. When you push the tube down, what it would do is it would push this out of the way and plug up this one here so it wouldn't go and just start dumping a bunch of fuel into the carburetor. I loved it. But it's a good thing I pulled the cowl off, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have seen that this fuel valve has fallen apart. And I would bet, see, this little piece right here was very well adhered at one point onto here. I would bet that just over time, whatever kind of cement or whatever that they had in there, the gasoline probably ate. Gasoline is kind of unfriendly to glues and certain types of plastics, styrene especially. And so, anyways, this popped off. And it's a good thing I didn't just say, hey, let's go ahead and see if it fires up, because if I would have done that, the way that that was sitting there, it would have just shot a bunch of fuel out the bottom of the plane. It would have been a mess. And then I would have been thinking, you know what? I should have taken the cowl off. So we're going to work on the remedy for that one today. What I'm going to do is, this particular valve is no longer available. I wonder why. So it is no longer available, so I'm not going to have this option anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that fuel line that goes directly from the tank, and I'm going to go ahead and hook it to the carburetor. So I'll probably get some different fuel hose, because I have a feeling this is going to be too short. And what I'm going to do is, in that new fuel hose, internally back inside there, right next to the tank, I'm going to be taking and putting one of these guys. I'm going to be putting in, yeah, look at that. It works pretty good, huh? Sort of. Okay, this is a T. I'm going to be putting this right back into the fuel line that's coming to the carburetor. And then what I'll do is I'll probably go ahead and I'm going to put a fuel dot, which is one of these devices. And it's going to sit right up here on the top. So I'll be able to continue using that 1/8 inch tube from my fueling jug to just plug right into there. And I could get the engine, or excuse me, the tank filled up from here. But I'm going to have to do some internal. Like I said, I'm going to take some tubing out of there and go ahead and hook one of these guys into it, so that, you know, and these are really cool too. These are just ordinary. If you have any knowledge, sorry. If you have any knowledge of sprinkler systems, like drip systems, these are those plastic barbs from that, I think it's called Doug, D-U-G, is the name of the company that makes that particular drip system. And I've tested them for gasoline. They work great. And you can get them from sources on Amazon. You can get like 100 of them for real cheap. So anyways, I've got more than enough of these things, probably for more planes that I will never have. But anyways, that's what I plan on putting in there. So I guess the main takeaway from today was, if you're going to fly a plane that has been sitting in storage for a long period of time, it's a good idea to go through it again to make sure that everything is working fine and stuff like that. The next thing I'm going to work on, once I get this fuel system all taken care of, is I'll be going through the servos, each one of them, making sure that they're all okay as well. But, you know, that's another day. So thanks for stopping in today. It was good to see you again, and come on back for the next one.